Welcome home, neighbors. This is Randy Wiley from Chicago, Illinois, owner at Saratoga Springs, and you're listening to My DVC Points.
Parents and the children could have fun together.
Please board quickly and safely. Our monorail will be departing momentarily.
Welcome to the My DVC Points podcast. Join the conversation as DVC members share their stories, personal preferences, and magical memories. Your reservation is confirmed, your fast passes are booked. Pull up on the yellow strap because our journey into the magic of membership is about to begin.
To infinity and beyond.
Now, here's your host and curator of magical stories, Chad Pennycuff.
Welcome home, neighbors. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at DVCresalemarket.com. They have the best website in all of DVC. Not only that, I'm going to go out on a little bit of a ledge here and say they've got the best customer service as well, because every single agent there is a former Disney Direct guide. And what that means is you get that Disney level of service without having to pay the Disney price tag because you're buying resale points from another member after they've came to a point in their journey where they realize they need to scale back or they've lost the love and feeling. And what DVC Resale Market does is it helps match up buyers and sellers. So God forbid, if you ever get to that point, they'll be glad to help you find a buyer as well. They control over 60% of the market. They are the largest. They have the most inventory and the most sales. DVCresalemarket.com. Let them know you heard about them here on the My DVC Points podcast. In today's show, I'd like to welcome a friend that I have made through the DVC community. I've got to hang out with him at Earl of Sandwich. text, post a lot. And let's welcome Mr. Justen Hyland to the show. How you doing today, Justen?
Hey, Chad, I'm doing awesome. And it's great to be here with you digitally. It makes me want to be there with you in person.
Yeah, dude, I wish we could go back over to Earl of Sandwich and hang out and record, but Disney is, they don't like us recording on property, so I don't ever do that. I know some people do, but if they catch you, they'll politely ask you to quit and or kick you out. And
it's not worth getting on the naughty list.
You know, I do enough naughty things in life without having to try. And like that one, I know better, and it would just be an intentional thing. So no, we're not doing that. We're going to record at our houses across the internet and keep everything on the up and up here, buddy. But how did your like Disney passion, backstory, all of that kick off here?
For me, like a lot of people, I have stories of growing up going to Disney World. It didn't mean a ton to me at the time. It certainly does now looking back, but I have positive memories going to the parks, growing up in the 90s, watching Aladdin and experiencing that whole Disney decade of entertainment. I remembered all that, but we weren't a Disney family. We did all kinds of trips. And then when I became a dad, suddenly it all hit like a hurricane. And I became a Disney fan when my daughter turned 3 and got a Snow White dress. For some reason, I just felt like I should buy her a Snow White dress. And the second I saw her in the dress, I was like, I think I need to go to Disney.
Now, had you been to Disney World before, or just like occasions, or?
Yeah, we had gone a couple times growing up. Once when I was 9, the year 2000, we went. And then we also went when I was in high school and had an awesome experience. But I distinctly remember being like a regular teenager and wanting to stay at the rental house with my brother to play Skyrim on our Xbox that we had brought with us, more than I wanted to go to the parks. So it wasn't a love that I had it from being a child. It was something that I really found more as I got older and as I became a dad, but really positive.
So that
memories.
almost sounds like a deep, dark confessional right there.
It is.
As well, right? We need to do a live show on that. What's your Disney confession?
I just wanted to play Xbox. I was so lost.
Now, what can we do to get those year 2000-ish era price park tickets? You know what I'm saying? It's...
Yeah, if we think food prices have gone up right now.
Yeah. The theme parks are insane. And
I shed a tear when I see what things cost before.
Yeah, my annual pass started at like $600 when I became a DVC member in 2017, and it's now $1,500.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, no fun. But
here we are.
So here we are. So the dad factor kind of came back in. You saw your daughter in the Snow White dress, and that led to a trip to Disney. It's like, honey, we got to take daughter here to Disney. Like,
it did. It happened very all of a sudden. And then it happened like a flood in my life. I started planning a trip in the summer of 2019. It was a January 2020 trip. And we had a baby girl and our 3-year-old daughter. So we're planning this January trip. And I started like a normal person, looking at the hotels, looking at how many days should I go, what's in the parks. And then I just became a maniac, like probably a lot of the people listening to us. And I had to know what every single hotel was and where the rooms were and how many people they fit. And I just got super obsessed and stumbled on your podcast at that time, learning about how you can rent DVC points. And so before I ever even took this trip, I was DVC curious. So as the planning progressed, I was like, I think we need to do this. As we were listening to your show, my wife's like a normal human being. She likes Disney World and she thinks about it when she's there. I've been on the vacation for a year before I take the vacation mentally. So I was planning this trip like crazy. And
that's half the fun, man. Let's be honest. It's like, and Disney has started to finally realize that we fans love the planning process, AKA we're bringing back some form of advanced booking for Genie Plus. Like, I can't wait. It's going to make the planning process fun again. Like,
I can't wait to find out what that is and get going with it.
Yeah, well, any day now, I'm hearing we should be seeing the news drop that we'll get some clues into this. But I mean, this is just a testimonial back that says, hey, yes, we the fans love our planning process. And that's half the fun of a Disney vacation is planning it.
Absolutely. Thinking about all the things, thinking about how my kids will react, how I'll react. That was huge for me. So I developed a plot where I rented DVC points for the beginning of our trip to stay at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And then the middle part of our trip, we stayed with cash at Pop Century. And then the end of our trip, we stayed renting DVC points at the Polynesian. And so instead of spending months telling my wife about, hey, this kind of thing, if we do this, it's kind of a timeshare, but it's not, but it is, but it's better because there's a market for it. She just got to experience the resorts. And then we talked about DVC.
Oh, so you kind of like set her up for this one. You kind of like threw that little hook out there. Okay.
Exactly. And the moment that we left Pop Century and then went to check in at Polynesian, it was like, oh, vacation. And she was pretty convinced from that point on.
Yeah, I think that's a pro tip for all of you people out there listening that are trying to figure out how to get your spouse on board.
Absolutely.
Is take a page out of Justen's playbook here. Start at deluxe. Now, I'm surprised you didn't go all out and just hit her with like All-Star Sports or something. like that culture shock would have done it right there. And then bring her back to Poly. I got to give you some props on the like bringing you back to Poly and ending on a monorail resort at the Polynesian. And
you could give me props, or you could realize what a manipulative monster I must be.
Nah, we can't. I can't even see that. Like,
that's awesome.
The ends justifies the mean here, Justen. So,
absolutely.
Like,
think of all the happy trips because of that experience that we had. And it was January 2020. It was when things were normal, and I was able to book my fast passes ahead of time. And I learned old Disney for one trip.
All that work for one trip,
and then
it all changed.
Off. Yeah.
Okay, so she was like open to DVC after this trip, or what were you thinking on this? Were you like, I'm in and I just got to get her on board, or?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was all the way convinced. There was no like hardcore, I don't want to do this, or I definitely do want to do this from her. She tends to enjoy it and think of it while she's there because she's like a normal human being. And I'm something different.
I'm going to refute that a little bit. On behalf of the listeners, we're all sitting here feeling, yeah, we're all kind of normal. We're just, we're Disney fans, right?
Absolutely.
We're passionate about our fandom here.
Absolutely. I say that with all the love in my heart for myself and for our community. So the world shuts down after that. Before we have any deep conversation about whether this is financially something we want to do, COVID came. We're foster parents. So in June of 2020, we took our first foster daughter home from the hospital. She was a newborn in the NICU and had a hard start to life. And there was nowhere to go and nothing to do. But Disney was opening up and the Rover monster was sleeping. And the math changed pretty significantly on my spreadsheets that I was making about the cost for resale and the cost for DVC overall. So as we were talking through that and as the FOMO was building up, we ended up deciding to purchase, starting with a resale contract at Vero Beach, because the price that I got at the time was $59 a point. So even the very high dues made some sense for the loaded contract that I bought.
Yeah. A lot of people don't get that, is when you've got limited cash to buy points with, Vero becomes very attractive because it gets you in the door, right?
Absolutely.
And it gets you in. Now, yes, you're going to pay more in dues as you keep it, but at least it gets you in the door and trying out the membership.
Absolutely. And it was that for us. And we made our reservations on that Vero contract that had tons of points on it. I don't think it was double, but there were tons of points on it. And we were able to make a big reservation. We were planning a trip with my sister. I was bringing her and her husband and their 2 kids on a big family trip that we were planning for the subsequent January. And then I'm thinking, hey, these prices are so low. Let's buy some more. So we bought some more points through DVC resale market at Bay Lake Tower. At the time, it was for $145 a point, if I remember correctly. And
still isn't a bad price right now. It's
yeah, absolutely. So it was lower at that time than it had been at all previously too. So as we were looking at it, we really liked that. And then we got that Addonitis all at once, very hard, and within 2 months bought 3 contracts, about 300 points. And we enjoyed having them. I have 100 direct points at Saratoga Springs. I wanted the blue card, and they were going to go to the 150 point minimum at the time. So I said, let's get in for the bottom dollar, quote unquote, for the Saratoga Springs Resort for the blue card. And then we had Vero and Bay Lake Tower, and we had a great trip that January. We were able to rent points to our family and use a bunch of points ourselves to stay in a 1-bedroom at Bay Lake Tower for a long trip. And at the time we had 2 under 2. So we loved the space in the 1-bedroom, using the pack and plays and having the room for the grown-ups. It was just awesome. And
you can't beat Bay Lake Tower's 1-bedroom now. Like it's massively huge. Okie West can hang with it in that same stratosphere, but that thing is just laid out exceptionally well in the 1-bedroom.
It was phenomenal. The space for the laundry room, the whole second bathroom, the big kitchen, comfortable living room. And we really loved that big room. And it was awesome at the time of having little ones needing space, from having little ones who need the space to sleep and need the quiet and wouldn't do so well if we were all in the same room.
Yeah. And then you've got the stroller ride over to Magic Kingdom where you can just walk them. And yeah, that's pretty ideal, man. I'm not going to lie.
It felt quintessential when we were doing it, going over and being the 4th person in line at Magic Kingdom without having to get on a bus, without having to get on a monorail. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sold. I'm in. So
yeah, you might enjoy something called Disney Vacation Club.
Yeah. I think I might try it out one of these days, right? I got to learn a little bit more about it first, though, I think.
Well, I know about an awesome member community that can really resource you, inform you to make your own decision.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So we had that big trip, and then we started to think maybe we had overinvested. Yeah, as a family with a less than 6-figure income, my wife now homeschools our 2 daughters, and we thought, this works and the math works, but maybe we overinvested because we like all kinds of travel. We're one of those Disney families that's Disney crazy, but we also enjoy a trip to the beach. We love a trip to national parks. We're campers. We love to go camping. We have a little pop-up camper and just love to get outside. So as we were planning our next trips, we thought we'd probably have too much for our income level. We have too much tied up in DVC, even though the math works.
Yeah, okay. So you had to amputate some points here, and
we amputated the points. And I feel very lucky to have bought when we did, because we bought at a time when the Rofer Monster was sleeping after COVID. Nobody was sure if anybody was going to go traveling anywhere in the upcoming years. So we were able to get good deals for the time on our points on loaded contracts, and we got them sold very quickly with Andy at DVC resale market for great prices, higher than what we had bought for, that covered a lot of the difference of, the money you lose from buying and selling.
Yeah. There's commissions that's got to be paid and closing costs and other things like that.
I don't want anyone working for free.
Yeah. I mean, there's legitimate costs to buying and selling contracts here, and title insurance and all of that kind of stuff. But it sounds like the market went up from when you bought. So you got a lot of those transactional costs covered through the price rise of the points.
Absolutely. And so looking back at it, when I crunched the numbers, it was like I had rented the points for those extra contracts.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you kind of got the use of the points. You might have taken a little bit of a loss on here, but you didn't take much. So you kind of got the points that you used for the price of the dues, plus a little bit of transactional cost, which is still cost of the, I mean, it's Vero dues, but still, that's a smoking way to go. And I think the timing on the market worked out well for you. And even today, with people seeing like Bay Lake being sold in the 130s, you consider like if you were to bought at 145, you pay the transactional cost and you're selling at 139 today, you still got a couple of years vacations out of there in rooms that are a couple grand a night at Bay Lake Tower.
Absolutely.
So I'm not feeling for you if you're, crying the blues on what you lost, because I really don't think you lost.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We loved the experience that we had with them. And in what other timeshare world could our experience have been a reality? In every other timeshare world, if somebody takes on a little more than they could handle in the moment, you're out of luck. You're going to pay somebody to take those off your hands. And
you're going to be underwater when you try to get ready to sell them.
Absolutely. You're going to be way underwater. And so because
if you can find a buyer as well, that's a big if, right? A massive, huge if, because here in Orlando, they drain a swamp every week and pop up a timeshare. And you might pay 30 grand for it. And when you get ready to sell it, you're like, dude, just take it off my hands. Just forget the cheese. Let me out of the trap. Right. And
absolutely. And there's only one way to go see Mickey Mouse. So there's always going to be a buyer. Somebody's going to do the math and crunch the numbers and realize that DVC is an excellent way to have a deluxe stay for so much less money.
Yeah, very, very true. Very true on that one. Justen, I think that's what really sold me on DVC is because I'm a financial nerd at heart. And when I looked at all of the math at this and the fact that you can buy it, sell it, flip it, because the demand is there, like the entire world wants to come see Mickey Mouse. And you could be at a sub 100 income, but if you're middle class or above, like 70,000 or north of that, it's almost a rite of passage in America to take your kids to come see this mouse. It's like at least once in their lifetime. And I joke with some of my friends, like, your parents didn't take you when you were little. And I'm like, that's, a form of child abuse. And while I joke, there's a little bit of me that's going, you did kind of miss a little something there, but
there's something to the culture of it. There's something to the experience of it. Absolutely. Mickey Mouse is the most recognized figure in the world. He's more recognizable than Santa Claus.
And at that point in time, it's like, that's what makes this different than anything else is you've got that Disney brand on this product. When people buy it resale, they know they're getting a Disney brand and a Disney service and a Disney product here. And that's what makes it so incredibly strong in this resale market and in the rental market as well.
Absolutely. And I never had a moment's trouble finding a buyer or finding a renter for any of the points that we had when we were going through it. It's a real product that people really demand, and you're going to have a good time with it. So at first, I felt honestly embarrassed that we had overextended and needed to back out of it. And then I crunched the numbers and thought, I just rented the points for a wonderful experience. My sister rented the points off of me. And so financially, coming through that, saying that was completely rational. That was a great trip, great experience that we paid a good price for.
Yeah, I think that's what really kind of made me say it's okay. And it was probably like a year or so into my podcast, and somebody came to me and told me that it was like my show and my Disney DVC pride here, and the fact that I'm not ashamed to say I own this product, it almost helps people like come out of the closet a little bit, so to speak, as if there's some kind of a financial timeshare shame that's there. And it's like people just got to come back in and do their math and do the research on this. And I ran into this as well, like at the YouTuber convention that I went to with all these credit card creators. Now, a lot of people are going to say they're evil, whatever, like timeshares, but it's a whole new level of timeshare scum to credit card scum. And they all looked at me like, what kind of scumbag are you? And I had to like eventually prove myself in the community. and go, hey, look at my show, look at my sponsors, look at my resale market, look at my message and my product. It's the same thing you guys are telling people in the point and mile game, is to educate yourself and make some smart decisions about what's best for your family. And once some of them saw the light on that, they were like, holy cow, we have a whole new respect for you because you're doing what we're doing and you're helping people understand this is a viable product. It can be a great benefit to your family. It can be a great benefit to your life, or it cannot be. But you just got to take the time and do the research on it and come up with your own conclusion. That is the heartbeat foundation of everything that we do at this show. And it's why these kind of user stories / testimonials / Disney journey stories are so incredibly popular with our audience, is people like to come back in and hear your story of, hey, we bought a little bit much. We had to scale back. I think if a lot of us were honest with ourselves, we would come back and say the same thing, because you're not the only member that I know that did that. You could make a case that I did that as well. And I went up to 1685. I was kind of like flipping them at the time and doing it more of a commercial mindset, and then renting some out and all of that stuff. And then I kind of realized that the rental business wasn't a great place for me to have my cash tied up in. And I looked at it and I was like, okay, Florida real estate right next to Disney is probably a little better spot to park that money. And so far I was dead right. Now we'll see if the Florida real estate market crashes someday, but for now I'm looking like I made the right decision. But
I think your audience and people who are willing to do the math on DVC are people who understand opportunity cost and are constantly evaluating, what is it that I'm doing right now that's preventing me from doing something else I might want to do in the future? And what is it that I'm doing right now that's gaining me something that I truly am enjoying having in my life? So right now for us, having 100 points is an amazing use of our time and our money, and understanding the opportunity cost that, yeah, I could do something else with this money. I could buy a nicer camper. But have you stayed at the Polynesian in January and had a great time going over to Magic Kingdom? As everyone understands, you could pay less money and go stay at All Star Sports, and you're still having a Disney vacation. But I think once you have tasted the fruit, it is very hard to go back to that.
And we're recording this in January as well. And
oh, yeah.
I just spent last Friday with my family at Magic Kingdom. And I got to tell you guys, if you hate the summers and the sweat and the rain and all this stuff, y'all need to come to Disney in January. December, January, even into February when it's hoodie weather out there. Like we had to wear hoodies in the morning, take them off in the midday and put them back on for the fireworks. But Disney and hoodie weather, dude, it just doesn't get any better than that. Like,
Chad, it's sublime.
Yeah,
it is sublime. My wife is very sensitive to heat, so the summer's not an option for us. If it gets above 80 degrees, she stops having a good time just physiologically. If it's too warm, she's just not going to have fun. So when we go and it's 55 degrees in the morning and we're going in fleeces and maybe getting to lose the fleece partway through the day, it is perfect. We love it. And we're from Ohio. Our girls like swimming in 60-degree weather. I don't, but the kids don't care. Just add water. They're having fun.
They're not cold in the pool because it's heated. They just freeze when they get out. So it's like you just get in the pool and you can't get out. It's kind of a trap like that.
Exactly. And there are worse traps to be in life.
Yeah. But I mean, they've got mom there with like the hooded towels and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And, she'll come rescue them and get them into warmth quickly.
Absolutely. Human beings have endured far worse for far longer. We love our January pools.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is quite the interesting story here, Justen. So it sounds like you kept the Saratoga points just to keep the blue card benefits, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I might have preferred to keep our Bay Lake Tower contract just from our experience there, but it's hard to walk away from the future possibility of a Moonlight Magic or annual pass discounts or whatever else might come from it. I'm kind of a FOMO person, so just knowing that whatever perks there may be, I have access to those for the duration of my contract.
Yeah, that's what I would have done as well. And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what I did do. I kind of amputated off all the resale and I kept my direct. And this way my points can go anywhere. I don't have to worry about it. And I can give those points to the kids. They could go anywhere. Although mine were pre-2019, so they should have theoretically been able to go anywhere. I've heard booking things that have happened with people, glitches in the system and other things. And I just didn't want to have to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much cleaner this way to say this whole contract is a direct contract. I know I have access to whatever perks they happen to choose to dispense.
Yeah. So like now, if you guys decide to go to Disneyland, the villas at Disneyland Tower is open to you. I'm 100% on board with that as well. So having bought and sold here, Justen, is there any advice that you would give somebody looking into DVC at this? Like what kind of lessons learned would you boil this down to?
Chad, you say it all the time that people can do the math for themselves, for their family, for their situation, and see what the numbers tell you. If you're looking for the cheapest way to get into DVC to 7-month into whatever resort happens to be available, you can do that math and see how it works for you. If you're in love with a certain resort, you can see how the math works to buy that for you. But take advantage of the tools out there. Like you say, the best website in DVC at DVC Resale Market is an amazing tool to see how much things cost, how much you can get if you buy a loaded contract, how much you can get if you buy a stripped contract. Having gotten in and out of it a little bit for us, it was understanding that there really is a market. There really are people who will buy this from you in the future, just like there's somebody who will buy your house from you in the future. Gave me a lot of peace of mind knowing that I'm buying something real that people are always going to want.
Yeah, I do not ever see a world in which it's non-desirable. Now it's Disney's movies, things have tanked here recently. They've kind of, some would argue ruined the Star Wars brand, the Marvel brand, and now Pixar is kind of stinking up the joint with their last few movies. But Inside Out 2 is coming, and I have hope. Okay.
Hope springs eternal.
But
the amazing thing, if you think about it from an organizational standpoint, the Walt Disney Company in all these different areas is using the success of their parks to fund being able to mess up in those other areas. So you can lose money on Disney Plus because I'm going to buy Genie Plus. So they have in their portfolio a massively successful thing, which is the parks that people want to visit. Somewhere out there, there's another dad who's going to see his daughter in a Snow White dress and know what to do next. And off to Orlando they'll go. Off to Disneyland they'll go.
Yeah, you can kind of count on that. It's like we've kind of grown up with it. It's been generational now. It's kind of like it's a thing, and it's what put this city on the map here in Orlando. And I don't care if you're off property. I don't care if you're another timeshare. At some point in time, if you're coming to Orlando, you're planning on coming to Disney. It's either this trip or the next one, because you might venture over to Universal or something else. But you can also use your DVC points and drive the 20 minutes up the I-4 to Universal or SeaWorld. It's right there, very accessible.
Absolutely. Chad, as we're talking now, I'm 3 days from a split stay Universal and Disney World trip, and I'm funding the Universal side of our trip from some points that I had rented out.
Yeah.
You can use them for whatever you want.
That's kind of what the flexibility you have here, right? And you can come back in, and DVC rental store will even do a swap with you and rent your points, take the money, and it'll be kind of a non-taxable situation. Talk to them about that, not me, because that's a little beyond my pay grade, but you can do swaps there and trade into Universal and not get a 1099 out of the deal. So
absolutely. Not only that, but you're talking to one of the newest Disney cruise fans in the world. This time last year, we rented out the whole of our allotment for the year to go towards a Disney cruise when they were doing the Disney Plus subscriber discount. So we had 7 days leaving from Port Canaveral off with Mickey exploring the oceans. We know those parks are there for us, but we got to use our points to send us on a Disney cruise.
And I mean, that's just the flexibility of this stuff, right? As long as there's a rental market that's there, which I don't ever see going away because the word is out now. You don't have to pay $2,000 a night. You can save 40% by renting points and still get that killer Bay Lake room, the 2-bedroom at Grand Flow, the 2-bedroom at Old Key West, and save a lot of money by renting members' points. And the word's out on the street. I think that's part due to the internet, part of shows like mine and DVC Rental Store doing a phenomenal job marketing their products and services. And it's there. This is a viable thing. And that's kind of the message that I want to get out there to people that are kind of on the fence for this, is like going, it makes most sense if you go to Disney, but you don't always have to get back the value out of your investment here.
Absolutely.
And
there's always a back door.
Yeah, there's always a back door, and there's always a valid exit strategy, which is something that traditional timeshares lack. And the fact that you were able to come back in, buy some points, go, ooh, we kind of overcommitted our resources here and we'd like to see that reallocated someplace else in our life, and you're able to find a buyer and, use a couple years of points and then walk away. That's a beautiful thing.
Can't beat it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Now I know you're coming to Saratoga and Universal this year. Is there any other future plans? What's on your DVC bucket list here?
Aulani. I cannot wait to get to Hawaii on our points. We have family in Washington State, so flying to the West Coast it's expensive enough as it is, but at some point when we're out there visiting them, we're just going to take advantage of being halfway there and get on a flight to Aulani and spend some time snorkeling, spend some time in some beautiful pools. I just can't wait to get out there.
Yeah, it sounds like I've sold you on Aulani, man.
Absolutely. I've probably only listened to those episodes 6 or 7 times. Just because I don't want to tease myself.
Yeah, that is it. I am trying to get there this summer. We'll see if that happens. I've got it booked. I got to get a few more things in line to make that happen. But yeah, it is one of my favorite DVC resorts of all times and as well. So Justen, let's end with our Tinkerbell question here. And now that you've got some DVC experience here, buying, selling, renting out, and if Tinkerbell were to put 2,000 pixie dusted points into your account that you could do anything with in the entire DVC system and ecosystem here, what would you do with Tink's magical pixie dusted points?
Chad, this question gives me fear and trembling every time you ask somebody, because every time you say it, I think my answer changes. Today, what I would do is I would try to move into Walt Disney World, and I would take Old Key West, probably a 1-bedroom, and the cheapest season of the year, September, or maybe the second cheapest, January, and stay at Disney World for as long as I possibly could. I thought about...
If you want your wife with you, Justen, I highly suggest you pick January because it is 90 plus degrees here and hotter than the devil in September. So
I remember walking with you to the Earl of Sandwich in September and almost not making it because of the intense heat, that armpit of the earth that Orlando is in September. But I just want to move in there, man, and pretend it's my house. That's my condo, and use the annual pass to get in and out of the parks. Live a normal life, but at Disney World. If you ask me on another day, maybe I'm moving to Aulani, maybe I'm staying in something grand. But for me, I'm about length of time. I don't like to do a trip that's less than 8 days, 7 days, something like that. I love settling in to that relaxing mood, putting the screens away, getting rid of all the distractions, just spending time with my wife and our 2 daughters. I just love it. So moving in, that sounds amazing to me.
Dude, I think you sold me on that. That sounds pretty awesome as well. And if I could tune out the rest of the world and just live over there, and that'd be a nice little month. And I would have to look that up, but I think 2,000 points would probably get you at least a month over there in a 1-bedroom in low season of Old Key West 1-bedrooms, because they're on the cheaper side to begin with, and you're talking about one of the cheaper seasons to begin with. So yeah, I bet we could pull that off.
Let's do it. Let's try it.
Okay, I mean, we just need to cough up them points now.
Tinkerbell's been holding this over this community for quite a few years now, and I think it's time she pays up.
Yeah. We can. I'll put a word into her because I happen to know one of the Tinks from the fireworks show, and I'll put a word in and see if she can shake some pixie dust our way on that and make that happen, Justen.
Absolutely, Chad. Life is difficult, and there's enough hard things going on in the world. And in my other life, I'm a pastor in a church, and I see a lot of the hard things that people go through. And it's caused me to want to value these experiences with my family. These times that they'll remember forever, that nothing can take away, are everything to me. And that's why I want to just move in, make it happen.
Yeah, I'm with you, Justen. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on today's show. Well, that puts another episode in the books. I'd like to do a huge shout out of thanks to our Patreon members over at patreon.com/mydvcpoints. We've got some Moonlight Magic booking events that are coming up that are kind of one of my unique only Patreon exclusive events that I do is we host a Teams meeting where we come back in and we do a booking powwow for them. And so that's one little thing that I can do to them because we produce 2 to 3 shows a week here and we give it all away to the public. We don't really produce shows to go behind the Patreon paywall too much. And it's because our Patreon community is givers and they want to see us give more to the community. And that's why they support us there as well. And also a huge shout out of thanks to our commercial sponsors over at World of DVC, which includes DVC Rental Store, DVC Resale Market, and Monera Financial. If you're looking to buy or sell a contract, they can help you out. If you need some financing, Monera specializes in financing DVC contracts. So as always, folks, hopefully you learned something in Justen's story today. Hopefully you didn't argue with me or him too much at the dashboard or yelled or cheered and your family's looking at you all kind of crazy like that. But our goal in producing these shows is to take real members and share their authentic stories so that you can figure out what's best for your family. And hopefully you learn something in Justen's story that'll help you go out there and plan something magical for your family.
Ladies and gentlemen, please watch your head and step as you exit, and take small children by the hand.
Aw, chill up, Dad. You know I'll come back. With DVC.
My DVC Points is an unofficial Disney-inspired podcast created by fans of Disney Vacation Club. The thoughts expressed in this podcast are personal opinions and personal experiences. My DVC Points is not affiliated with Disney Vacation Club, the Walt Disney Companies, or any subsidiaries. We encourage listeners to contact their DVC guide or member services for official DVC policies.